When we think of modern-day Formula One, we picture speed demons zooming around the track with surgical precision. But let me tell you, the heydays of Formula One were not all about speed and precision. On one side, you've got young guns like Max Verstappen, who are cunning enough to overtake others, perform perfect laps, and recover from sideways slides. But rewind the tape to the heydays, and you've got characters like James Hunt, the original wild child of the track. Yes, he was a speed demon who reached 195 miles per hour. But what set him apart was his attitude. He was fearless, aggressive, contrary, hyperactive, and persistently rebellious. His fierce, tail-happy driving style gave him much glory, but his urge to get involved in accidents earned him the title Hunt the Shunt. You won't believe it, but this master of controversies was caught messing around minutes before the 1976 World Championship, the race of his lifetime. Yes, many stars have been caught doing crazy things on auspicious days, such as their weddings, award ceremonies, etc., but Hunt for Shunt takes the cake for sheer audacity. He was a 1970s F1 playboy, a hard-driving, hard-drinking, flirtatious, cocky legend who was a perfect example of a hedonistic era of motorsports. Ruggedly handsome, sporting golden locks, death-defying stunts, and an almost hippie style, Hunt was undoubtedly the ultimate poster boy of motor racing. Where men admired his devil-may-care attitude on the track and his epic rivalry with the legendary Niki Lauda, women were more fond of his off-track performance. As rumors have it, he once bragged that he had bedded more than 5,000 women. Well, let's just say the word bedded might be a bit of a stretch. This guy did not seem to like bedtime stories. He preferred to seize the moment whenever and wherever he pleased. He was an F1 womanizer with an irresistible appetite for sex. You could say that sex was more than just a hobby for him. It was practically a full-time job. And during those last 2 weeks of October 1976, he really took his career to the next level. He was in Tokyo for the Formula One World Championship, battling Niki Lauda. And his preparations were 10 out of 10. But no, not for Formula One, but for the Manic Shagathon Championship. Hunt was in a swanky Fuji hotel, but it happened to be more of a pit stop for the British Airways cabin crew than a residence. His team manager, Alistair Caldwell, once told the Daily Mail that James would strut up to the girls in his skivvies and bare feet, saying, "Hello, I'm James Hunt," and whisk them straight up for a fiesta. This became a daily ritual for a solid fortnight. The flamboyant driver was quite serious with these intense, unconventional pre-race rituals, while other drivers were doing non-serious things like fine-tuning their engines and studying the track. Hunt was sweating in his bed, probing his threshold, and setting a personal record by fucking not one, not two, but a whopping 35 British Airways stewardesses in just a fortnight. And then that special day came when all eyes were on the rivalry between James and Niki. It was one of the most important races in Formula One history, and 30 million people around the world were glued to the screen. The tension was palpable. The engines were roaring, and all the spotlights were on one man, James Hunt. But those lights could not capture the superstar. Where is he right now? In the garage. He was going through his pre-race rituals, which were later revealed by Patrick Head, a young car designer who is now co-founder and former engineering director of the Williams Formula One team. Head went to the wrong pit garage and found none other than James Hunt racing overalls down to his ankles, having a grand old time with a Japanese girl. Hunt just chuckled at the whole situation, leaving poor Patrick scratching his head in disbelief. But just a few minutes later, Hunt walked out of the garage and headed around the corner for his other pre-race ritual, a good vomit session. Once he had sufficiently emptied his stomach, Hunt realized that he was here for some race. He geared up, and against all odds, he clinched the 1976 World Championship, defeating his closest competitor, Niki, by just 1 point. After this win, which drove a massive party frenzy around the globe. What did he do? He drank himself into oblivion, of course. When he eventually returned to Heathrow Airport following a full day as champion, a crowd of 2,000 enthusiastic supporters welcomed him. But he was not in a position to wave at them with a smiling face. He was stumbling off the plane, completely sloshed, straight into the waiting arms of his dear old mum and his ever-patient girlfriend, Jane Burbeck. This scene might seem straight from a Hollywood movie, but it was James Hunt. Nothing was unconventional for this 70s playboy. He was the perfect example of the sex, drug, and fast cars lifestyle. And it was not the only time he was spotted drunk at major events. He was hopelessly intoxicated while walking down the aisle on his wedding day. And this marriage, as elegantly started, ended in the same way. If rumors were to be believed, Hunt sold his supermodel wife Susie Miller to Richard Burton for $1 million, and she got married to Burton. So, going back to Hunt's drunken escapades, this dude got drunk on his BBC broadcast debut too. After retiring from racing in 1979 and draining all his money on partying and drinking, the ex-champion made a return to Formula One, this time as a commentator for the BBC. During his debut broadcast, he was sporting a cast on his leg from a recent skiing mishap, but it did not stop him from drinking 2 bottles of rosé on his debut day. As driver René Arnoux struggled on the track, Walker relayed the Frenchman's excuse of a recent engine change for his poor performance. With a generous amount of liquid courage in his system and his speech slightly slurred, Hunt leaned forward in his seat and bluntly declared to millions of viewers, "Well, all I can say to that is bullshit." Ah, this cavalier attitude in sports. I feel a tinge of regret when I realize that this fierce and carefree attitude has almost evaporated from the world of sports. Nowadays, every move is meticulously calculated to maintain a pristine social media image. But back in the day, the superstars weren't chasing after likes and retweets. They were out there on the field, living on the edge and making waves without worrying about their online persona. James Hunt was one of those free characters who epitomized that cavalier spirit of the bygone era. The champion also tested his fate in riding, and surprisingly, it went well, without any controversy. Well, I can't say if he continued with sex minutes as his pre-riding ritual, because no Patrick Head was there to spot him. But yes, the last few years of Playboy's 70s were quite sober. He wrote about the environmental concerns and car safety. He met the love of his life, Helen Dyson. He left drinking and smoking largely because of her. He took up cycling in an attempt to get fit once again. He was turning back to life. But just when things started turning right, life betrays you badly. The same happened to James Hunt. One day, he proposed to Dyson that he join his new and better life. The next day, there was no life left for Dyson to join. A man who put his life in danger hundreds of times on the track gave up on the safety of his home. He died of a heart attack on June 15, 1993, when he was just 45. His tale was immortalized on the silver screen in the 2013 hit film Rush, which starred Hollywood A-lister Chris Hemsworth as Hunt. So, the next time you watch a Formula One race and marvel at the skill and precision of the drivers, just remember that behind every great racer, there's a story that's as bizarre as it is captivating. And in the case of James Hunt, well, let's just say that he lived his life in the fast lane until the very end. If you liked this video, do hit the like button. If you want to hear the craziest stories in sports, do follow our channel. History is overflowing with crazy people, and we will cover them in our videos.